y'all, welcome back to another video. And in today's video I'm gonna do a mid-year wrap-up with all the books I've read so far. I saw a couple people do this and I thought that it was really cool, and I figured even though that this video is gonna come out during July, I'm filming it on June 25th. So, and then I have two books that I'm currently reading, but if I do end up finishing those in June, I'm gonna do another wrap up for the second 6 months of the year in December, and then at the end of December, or even at the beginning of next year, I'm gonna do a ranking of all the books I ended up reading this year. So yeah, so these are all in order of when I read them. So this is it. I'm not gonna give you my review or anything. I'm gonna wait until whenever I film the rankings video. I am gonna give you a little bit of what I thought of the book. I don't remember every single one of these star ratings, so, and a lot of these were from my 20 books before I turned 18 challenge goal, or whatever you want to call it. So you already know some of these. So yeah, let's get started. Oh, don't mind my Christmas jammies, okay? Just don't mind that. So in January, I read a total of 2 books, and I have little sticky notes on the books of what month I read them. So for January, the first book I ended up reading was An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. Basically, this book was about these two, I think they're seniors. I think they might have just graduated from high school, maybe. I'm not too sure. They're either going to be seniors or they already graduated. I think they already graduated, but I'm not too sure. And the main guy, Colin, he's this genius, and he was a child prodigy, and he kind of is going through feeling special in when he was a child, and now he's not really special anymore. And all the girls he's dated, and there's a whole bunch of 19, all were named Catherine. So he kind of almost ran away with his bestie to I think Tennessee. I'm not too sure. I can't remember all that much. But they ended up meeting this girl, and he tries to calculate to see if he can calculate when a relationship is gonna fail or whatever. So that's basically what this is about. I remember not being too into it, but it was a good book. I like John Green, so yeah. So the next book I read was Star Wars: A New Hope. So the first Star Wars. This book is gonna pop back up a couple of times because there's 3 books, so I count it as 3 books. But yeah, I think honestly, I think the movie is a lot easier to follow. I got lost so many times in this book that I really don't remember anything about any of the 3 books. Just watch the movie, I say, because even though these are pretty short, just watch the movie. The movie's a lot easier to understand and to keep up with. So, and these do follow the movie pretty well, I think. So just watch the movie. Save your money. Save your 25 bucks. Just watch the movie. That's what I'm gonna say to that. So next was February, and I read two books in February, sorry. So the first book that I read was Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I remember I really liked this book. I do really like Ali Hazelwood's writing style. I think it's really cool, and I think it's really cool how, like, in the 2 books that I have read of hers, that, like, the girl, she's always like this badass scientist. So I like that. And, like, as somebody going into forensic science, that's just really cool to watch. And I feel like in a lot of books, even like in like movies and stuff, normally it's the guy that's like really smart and all this stuff, and the girl's always like kind of dumb. And I feel like in her books, like the guy and the girl are always really smart. So I did really love this book. It was basically about this girl who is a theoretical scientist, I believe, in physics maybe? I don't know. I'm not that into science. But he or she like has this online dating persona where you can hire her to be a fake girlfriend, and his brother actually did, even though he just has no interest in dating anyone. But he's a single Pringle for life, and he's okay with that. And so obviously I think you could tell by the cover they end up falling for each other, but she is up for this job at his college, I believe, that he teaches at, but he has another candidate, and he's fighting for this candidate, and she's kind of fighting for this job, and she has to impress everybody. And yeah, it's a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I really like Ali Hazelwood's writing. I feel like she's up there with one of my favorite authors. Next I read After Ever Happy by Anna Todd. I'm trying to remember what this book was really about, but I couldn't tell you. I think it's like, I think they might have been apart for a while at this point, Tessa and Hardin, and I think she moves to New York, and he like he's a little stalker, so he like follows her there, I believe. I'm not too sure. I forgot. I would have to read my review. Next in March I read 2 books. So I read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I really enjoyed this book. I was a little confused by how it was written at first, but after like a couple chapters, are these even in chapters? I guess kind of, not really, but like after a few like pages I got the hang of it. It's not written like it's a book. It's written like in an interview style. And it basically follows this band that was in the 70s who was really popular, who added this girl on named Daisy, and you know, kind of like the challenges of fame and like working with somebody you don't really enjoy having around, and then like all this other stuff, and like drugs and drinking. And I actually really enjoyed this book a lot more than I thought it was gonna be. Thought I was going to. So yeah, I do really recommend this book. I also really like Taylor Jenkins Reid's like writing style. For me, it's very fast paced, and it's not really like hard to understand. I feel like she's very straightforward with her writing, and it's almost like, for me, it's almost like she's not writing the story, but she's telling the story, if that makes sense. Like, she's not writing it, it's whenever I read it, it sounds like somebody is telling me their life story instead of me reading their life story, if that makes sense. In my head it makes sense, but I'm not sure on paper it makes sense. Like me just saying it makes sense, but like in my head it makes sense. Anyway, so the next book is a Julia Quinn book. Dang, I haven't read a Julia Quinn book since March. I need to get on that. So this is Romancing Mr. Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. This was actually the book that inspired the most recent season of Bridgerton, season 3. Which, am I a little salty? They skipped over Benedict's season. Yes, I am. But am I gonna eat that season up whenever it does come? Yes, I am. Is that my favorite book out of the Bridgerton series so far? I've only read 4. But yes, it is. Anyway, so if you know anything about Bridgerton, you know that like each book or each season, if you just watch the show, is about a Bridgerton siblings love story. That's the main focus. I mean, they have like other siblings that's like trying to find love, but like the main focus is one of the Bridgerton kids love match. So in this book, it actually takes place quite a few years. I think maybe 10 years after, oh, I don't know, maybe longer. I think maybe 13 years after the first book. And in the TV show, it's only 2 years after the first season. But, you know, she's still writing Lady Whistledown, and all this stuff. But it does, like, follow kind of well with the TV show. It's about Penelope's and Collins's love story and how they went from being friends for like years and years and years to them finally, you know, doing the nasty in a carriage. Yeah, but I really enjoyed this book. And I think the way that he kind of found out about Lady Whistledown, I think it's a lot better in the book. And I also think the carriage scene is a lot better in the book. And I also think that how she kind of, I don't know actually. I don't know if I enjoy how she told everybody that she was Lady Whistledown in the book more or in the TV show, because I really loved the bugs. That part was so cute. Philippa in this season, she might be my favorite, but yeah. So in April, I only read one book. I read Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back again. Just watch the movie. Just watch the movie. I don't like DNFing books, and actually, if that wasn't part of a challenge, I would have DNF'd it. But I did DNF my first book in years. A few weeks ago. So, yeah. So, in May, I read 4 books, I believe. So, I don't have one of them because I read it in class. But I'm counting it as I read it because I technically did, even though I slept through half of it because I did not like it. But anyway, so the first book would be Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I love the Hunger Games. I love the movies. I haven't seen the newest movie yet, which I need to before the 5th movie comes out, or the 6th movie comes out. I don't know. Anyway, I love the Hunger Games. This is what got me into reading in the first place. I actually had my 14th birthday was Hunger Games themed, so that was cool. I think it was either my 14th or my 13th, I can't remember. But if you don't know anything about Hunger Games, you've been living under a rock for the past 10, 12 years. however long it's been since this thing came out. So basically, it's about this country called Pan and every year they have this thing called the Hunger Games, and two tributes from each district, a boy and a girl, which there's 12 districts. They are picked randomly, and they have to go in and fight to the death till one person is standing. And I think the age limit's like 12 to 18, I believe. And Katniss and Peeta, they're District 12 peeps, they go in and they kind of jack up the system. So it's a really good, it's a dystopian book, but I don't really like dystopian that much. But I eat up Hunger Games, okay? I eat it up. So next I read Heartbreaker by Hannah Grace, which this actually took me a while to read. Not because it wasn't a good book, just because there wasn't really like anything grasping me to continue to read it. It was a really good book. It's a really good read. But it was more, for me, it was more like one of those books where like you can sit down and you can read it gradually over time, you know. But anyway, so it's about these two college kids who, the girl, Anastasia, is on the figure skating team, and Nate is on the hockey team, and the hockey team's ice rink got like destroyed, so they have to share rinks with the figure skating team, and they kind of like meet and they party, and yeah, a lot of stuff happens in this book. And you know what, actually, I got so heated in this book by Aaron. If you know, you know. I got so mad at him. And then I got mad at Anastasia. But then I was like, you know what, girl, it's not her fault. Hold on, my bookmark is like coming. Oh, it's gonna fall out here in a minute. Okay, they're good. Okay. So then after that one, I finally finished this monstrosity. I'm kidding, it's not a monstrosity. It's the Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Again. Just watch the movie. Just watch the movie. So next in May, the final book in May is Before by Anna Todd. This was the last book in the After series, which I actually really enjoyed this book. It was basically the first book, but told in Hardin's point of view. And yeah, and like you get some of the other characters' point of view too. Like you get some of their backstories. Like you get Molly's backstory, you get Steph's backstory a little bit, and I think you might get Nate's, is that his name? I don't know. But you get some of their backstories, which I actually really enjoyed. So in June, so far, I've read 4 books, if you count my DNF, which I'm gonna kind of tell you why I DNF'd it. But yeah. So the first book I read was What Happens After Midnight by K. L. Walter. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was like really cool. But anyway, and like this cover feels really nice. But anyway, it's basically about these group of kids. They go to like this boarding school, really fancy school. They're seniors, obviously. And it's like their senior prank, but they're not really allowed to do a senior prank. And they go around all night, like literally all night. They sneak around campus, hiding these clues, hiding everything, and yeah. It's a really good, interesting read. I'm trying not to spoil anything. I'm really bad at just like spoiling books. But I'm trying not to. So next, this. Sorry. Okay. You heard that. That was my brother. This was my DNF. I did not like it whatsoever. I got almost halfway through it until I DNF'd it. I think I got like 45% into it, and I could tell that this book was just gonna make me more angry. So it's spoiler alert by Olivia Dade. I have some thoughts. So these are grown people. I think she's in her late 30s, he's in his early 40s, and they're acting like teenagers. They have secret online personas, and she dresses up. She cosplays, which is all fine and dandy. But she was saying how like she didn't want her family and like her friends and her coworkers to know. But then she posts a picture of her on Twitter. And I'm like, girl, what? And then they go on a couple of dates, which is fine. But he kind of feels bad that he's kind of like, he's talking to her in person as himself. I don't even remember these people's names. But anyway, and he's also talking to her through his computer as like a different person. So he kind of like goes to his little online persona and tells her that he can't really talk anymore because he has a work trip and they don't have a lot of internet, and she gets pissed off. And I'm just like, you've never met this person before. Well, you have, but you just don't know. And like, so why are you getting so mad? Because someone's not gonna have internet. Anyway, and like, she's a bigger person. And they get like ambushed by the paparazzi a couple times, and then they're in like this Uber, and they're like trying to figure out when they can hang out, and he has to go film a movie or whatever the next day, so he has to fly out in the morning. But he already had these plans set in stone, and he was like, well, I was gonna go to the gym and then gonna go eat breakfast early tomorrow morning. You can come if you want to. And then she got mad and then went on her little online persona and was like, hey guys, this is me. And that was fat shaming. That was not fat shaming. He didn't say a single thing about your body. No, he said, I'm going to the gym. I had planned on going to the gym. You can come if you want to. How is that fat shaming? It's not. Grow up. 38 acting like that. No. Like, did he say one thing about her body? No. Bro just like effed her in public. I think he does not care that you're fat. Anyway, that book just like makes my blood start to boil, so I DNF'd it. If you enjoyed it, good for you, but I did not enjoy it whatsoever. Like, I've read Instagram fan fictions when I was 12 that was 1,000 times better than that. Anyway, next, I read Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. This was actually the first time I've ever read Percy Jackson. I have the second one. I really liked this book. It was really fast paced. It was really interesting. It wasn't that hard to read. It wasn't that hard to like keep up with. And yeah, I like it. And I like how like he kind of has like thoughts before he says something. Which, yeah. Well, if you don't know what Percy Jackson's about, because I didn't really know what it was about because I'd only watched like the movies and then I watched the TV show when it came out. But people were saying like those aren't really like how the book is. So basically the book is about this 12-year-old kid who finds out he's a demigod, and he gets like attacked by all these monsters, and he has to go from like his boarding school to this camp. And you know, he watches his mom kind of die but not die. And then he has to like do all this stuff, and then he finds out that he is the son of Poseidon. So him and 2 other kids have to go on a quest because Zeus thinks that Percy stole the lightning bolt, like Zeus's lightning bolt, which honestly, now that I think about it, is kind of stupid because Zeus was like, Poseidon got his son to do it, but like he didn't even know Poseidon was his dad until like the day before all this happened, which like, couldn't Zeus like kind of see that like Percy didn't know? And like also, how are you gonna be like the god of like all gods and your lightning bolt gets stolen? I feel like that's kind of your fault, Zeus. Like, especially if you think a 12-year-old did it that doesn't even know he's a demigod. Like, anyway. So the last book I read was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This book was a really cute book. It was a really cute read. It was about these 2 friends and every year for like so many years, they've gone on a summer vacation, a summer trip. And like originally it started out being really cheap, the cheapest places they could find. And then she got a job basically doing that. So they kind of like upgraded because now the company's paying for everything. And then in Croatia, I guess they're gonna get into like a little, and yeah, and then they end up falling in love. This is a really good book. So that's all the books I've read so far this year. I was not expecting, I didn't know I read so many books. I forgot to say a book. That was only 15. In May, I don't have it, but after I read Hunger Games, did I say it? I don't know. I don't know if I said it or not, so I'll just say it now. After I read Hunger Games, I read this book called The Kite Runner. It was for school. I did not like that book whatsoever. I slept through a lot of it because I didn't like it, and I felt like the main dude was kind of making, I think Hassan was his name, his like rape all about him and how like he was feeling about it, and he didn't really care about Hassan, which just pissed me off. And then I feel like there was just so much detail like each chapter was like 50 pages long, it felt like. And it felt like the author kind of just, he went into so, me and Autumn talked about this, but like it felt like he went into so much detail you couldn't understand what was happening. Like he described everything and you were just like, what am I meant to be focusing on right now? So I didn't really understand it and I didn't really like it, but I did read it. I gave it a 1 star. Yeah. If I had not been required to read it, I would never have read it. But anyway, so that's it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this little wrap up. I think by the time this is posted, I'll be in Tennessee, so that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna try to like vlog as much as I can. It's gonna be in that format that all my other travel videos are in. So yeah. Deuces, don't get weird.